What's up, everybody? My name's Emery, and I'm the developer on a statistical cryptocurrency analysis service called BOA, and I'll talk about that in just a second, but let's first get into the stuff that everybody's curious about right now, and that is what on earth is happening in cryptocurrencies right now. So before I get into that, I want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. I am not a financial professional. I am not a financial advisor. Everything I say is meant for educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before investing any of your money, and I am not liable for any losses that you could incur after or before or at any point in relation to watching and or listening to this video. So now that I've mentioned that, covered myself, let's get into what's happening in Bitcoin right now, and oh my god, it is blood in the streets, guys. So in understanding what's going on with Bitcoin right now, we have to talk about the fundamentals and the technicals. I want to start with the technicals, and that's why I have this chart pulled up. So for those of you that are familiar with technical analysis, you will recognize what I'm doing as drawing trend lines. So I'm just connecting the lows on the chart, these little troughs right here, with one another, and you will quickly realize that the lines are getting steeper and steeper, and that is a large part of the problem, as in what's happening with Bitcoin. Namely, that the chart has turned parabolic, and that is not something to do with getting bitten by a mosquito in the Amazon forest. That comes from, for those of you that didn't pay attention in 10th grade geometry, that comes from the word parabola. So I have a picture of a parabola pulled up right here. And as you can see, at first the slope is a little steep, or a little shallow, and then it gets very steep very quickly. And that's because the function that's driving that behavior is a power function. So like x squared or x to the seventh or something. It's a power function. And that's essentially what's happening with Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies really, is that they're growing at this aggressive rate, 5, 6, 7% every day. And that kind of growth shot us, especially this year, but definitely over the last few years, from just a few thousand to, almost 20,000 at the peak, right? I don't think we ever touched 20,000 according to this chart, but we got close. And that kind of growth is just not sustainable. So what's happening right now is a retracement, and that is very easily illustrated by connecting lower highs instead of higher lows. So I'm going to do that with an example right here. So if I connect these two highs right here, you can see that slope is pointing down. If I do that one more time, same thing starts happening, right? That line starts getting steeper and steeper, just in the other direction. And that is a small downward trend, or also known as a retracement. So whenever that kind of thing starts to happen, you will see that happen when the upward trend line is broken. So if you were trading or investing at this point, you would have probably drawn your trend lines like so, and price would have broken that trend line right here. Broken through the trend line because it was getting steeper and steeper and steeper, broken through, then started forming lower highs, lower lows, started moving down until the steepest trend line here was broken, and then the uptrend continues. So that is what's happening on the graph here, and obviously it's very easy to draw these lines after the fact, and I don't necessarily use these to make daily trading decisions, just to understand what the larger trend is. But of course, this is just a manifestation of what's happening on the fundamental side. And what's happening on the fundamental side is that Bitcoin is suffering a lot, both with the fees and with the transaction times. A lot of people are complaining they're paying $40, $50 just to send a little bit of Bitcoin, and it takes, sometimes hours, days, weeks for the coins to get there. And with the days and the weeks, a lot of times it's just beginners that maybe didn't know how to send their Bitcoin properly, but it is taking a few hours for some people to send their Bitcoin, and that's just, it's not a feasible model for the continuation of Bitcoin as an everyday purchase system. Now, using Bitcoin as a store of value like gold, if you want to keep $20,000, $30,000 in your Bitcoin just for safekeeping, that's another thing. But the thing that's causing this extremely aggressive retracement to take place right now, we went from almost 20K down to the lowest we were at was apparently, according to this chart, 10,000. So that was basically a 50% drop at one point. Right now we're at 13 and change. So still looking at 30-40% here. So this retracement had to happen because the growth became parabolic and became unsustainable. And then the thing that triggered that drop off was, one, Bitcoin being used too much, and the fees and the transaction times getting too aggressive, and two, Bitcoin Cash being added to Coinbase under very sketchy circumstances. That also sort of caused this trigger, but make no mistake, this was a long time coming. This kind of growth is just not sustainable. If we would have kept growing at this rate in a few years, the Bitcoin would have, had a market cap larger than maybe the world economy even. And I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I'm sure you can Google that, but this kind of growth is just not sustainable. So that's what's happening on the technical side. On the fundamental side, like I said, it's those transaction fees, it's those transaction times, and this is all sort of carrying over into the next thing I want to talk about, and that's what's happening with the altcoins. So if we just sort of pull up Ethereum here for a second, a very popular altcoin, the technology of which I personally believe in, we can draw those same lines, right? So Ethereum has sort of grown in tandem with Bitcoin, and there's a reason for that. Bitcoin is sort of the poster boy for the cryptocurrency world. And whenever Bitcoin grows over a longer period of time, the other coins tend to grow as well. But whenever Bitcoin drops as aggressively as it has now, which might be one of the most aggressive drops that Bitcoin has had ever, certainly in the last year. When that happens, the other coins tend to sort of suffer as well. So here you can see another little bit of parabolic growth. You can also see that on a larger scale going up this way, and then this extremely aggressive retracement here. Right? This is sort of happening to Ethereum because it's a cryptocurrency, not because the fundamentals are weak. I personally believe the fundamentals in Ethereum are very strong, but it follows suit with the cryptocurrency world as a whole. And that's sort of what's happening here, was that this trend again was broken, maybe like that, maybe from here through here, and there's a large retracement going on. So after the retracement is over, with Bitcoin, Ethereum will likely continue back upwards. Bitcoin, it's anyone's guess, really. I will touch on that in just a second, but for those of you that are free subscribers of the of BOA or paid subscribers of BOA, so right now, again, it is in free beta for those of you that are interested in trying it for free. You don't need to submit a credit card or anything. There's no strings attached. You can just try it for free if you want. You can also read through the website that's at cryptoboa.io. For those of you that are using BOA to make trading decisions, here we have BOA's performance over 2017, and as you can see, BOA does very well, especially compared to buy and hold. But there's a reason for that, and that is because buy and hold does well. If buy and hold does well, BOA does better. That's because any security or any time series that trends up over time will have a first derivative, so it's price change, daily price change, that is dependent. So today's price change will be dependent on yesterday's price change, which means we can exploit those dependencies to get out and get in at the right times. But getting out and getting in at the right times doesn't help you if the market as a whole is trending down. So if you look at buy and hold here, it's went from 115,000 to 67,000. That's just an average portfolio having started January 1st, 2017. Same thing happened to BOA. Over that same time period, it went from 711,000 to 435,000. So when the whole market drops, BOA drops, because BOA it can't just make money in a losing market unless you were shorting. But since BOA doesn't short, it just sort of tells you which coins are good buys and which coins are good sells. The predictions become kind of useless when the market as a whole starts trending downwards. Here you can see the same thing again, 161,000 down to 87,000 in the buy and hold, and BOA dropped as well. So for those of you that are using BOA, that are getting the email notifications, I personally am not using BOA right now to make trading decisions because the market is in an aggressive retracement. I would be waiting for these retracement lines, for these lines to be broken. So if you continue this line on, maybe you would wait for price to do something like, I really wanted to use that draw feature, but I can't really figure out how to do that right now. Oh, there we go. I really would want price to move up and essentially cross that line, higher low, higher high, boom, the trend is back in business. And that's for a coin that you believe in. Do not use these types of tools. Do not use technicals for things where you don't believe in the fundamentals, right? So if you think that Bitcoin is dead, and a lot of people do because transaction fees are transaction times, maybe don't use BOA to make Bitcoin trading decisions. If you believe in Ethereum, as I do, maybe use BOA to make Ethereum trading decisions. And that is how all of this relates to BOA. Again, for those of you that are unaware, you can go to cryptoboa.io, read about it, sort of decide for yourself if you would like to receive the free beta. Last thing I do want to talk about is what might happen in the future. So I've already hinted at this throughout the entire conversation we've been having here, but I personally believe that at best, Bitcoin, let's move to Bitcoin since I'm talking about it, at best Bitcoin will be used as a store of value. I don't see it being used in everyday transactions. I just don't think the code supports that. I don't think that the infrastructure is there. I do believe that Ethereum and perhaps even Litecoin are going to continue their upward trends. I think Litecoin is very quick, very light, very usable. I do believe in Ethereum. I think Ethereum has solid fundamentals. And I believe in some other coins as well, but that's a discussion for another day. So once this retracement is over, the market has sort of corrected its aggressive parabolic growth. We will see the move go back up in certain coins, maybe not Bitcoin, maybe Bitcoin too. But yeah, just remember that this was completely organic, completely natural, and I hope that you guys won't freak out, make the right trading and investing decisions, those that work best for you. And I just wish you guys all the best. Hope that everything works out for you, and hope this was helpful.